Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the MeanGene Show here on KDWN, 720 AM, 101.5 FM, Las Vegas. It's the NFL Championship Weekend show. Championship Weekend, Sunday, January 30th. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, Dustin Phifer. Dustin covers the Carolina Panthers and the Charlotte Hornets for Ballys Sports Southeast. Dustin, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, Gene. Glad to be back on. How are you?
I am doing great, man. Only a few more games before Super Bowl 56.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to believe that we're here to the Final Four, and it's a big weekend. I have Lakers and Hornets tonight, and then we got some championship games this weekend. I've even got a birthday thrown in there tomorrow. So it's a busy weekend, and Super Bowl's coming right around the corner.
Ooh-wee. I tell you, man, there's nothing like it. Nothing like it. So, all right, before we get into the action, the MeanGene Show is brought to you by Presidential Limousine by Captain. It's the official limousine service of the MeanGene Show. There's absolutely no way you can experience Las Vegas until you ride in a Presidential Limousine by Captain. I mean, we have covered 17 weeks of football, playoffs. If you haven't rode in one of those limousines by now, come on. Are you kidding me? Hey, all you got to do is text them 702-410-6057. They will respond right away. Or you can just simply call them and make a reservation now. 702-438-5466. The show is also brought to you by the Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino. Experience the award-winning soul of Motown, a high-energy concert-style musical tribute celebrating Motown legends. This is a must-see show during your Las Vegas vacation getaway. For reservations, call 888-796-3564. All right, Dustin, woo-wee. I got a lot of information, man, because you know what? This is going to be one hell of a show, man. We got to go back and talk about last weekend, then we got to pump everybody up for the action that's going to take place. But I will say this, on Championship Sunday, the Super Bowl 56 participants will be determined. In the AFC, 3 o'clock Eastern time on CBS, Cincinnati Bengals will take on the Kansas City Chiefs, while the San Francisco 49ers will travel to SoFi Stadium, which is not that far, by the way, to face the Los Angeles Rams in the NFC. That game is 6:40 p.m. Eastern time on Fox. So, Dustin, are you ready?
I'm ready, man. I'm ready to talk about these games. I think we did pretty well on our picks last week. We definitely weren't expecting the Packers to go out like that, but we've got two good games where any one of these teams could be in the Super Bowl come next in 2 weeks on Sunday.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned last week, man. Before we even, you know how we do it, man. Before we even get into Championship Sunday, we're going to go back and look at those divisional games. And, Dustin, I have to admit, man, it was one of the most exciting NFL playoff weekends that I could ever remember.
Yeah, I would have to, I don't want to, it could be a recency bias talking about last Sunday, but at least from what I've been watching football in the playoffs, that has to go down as probably the greatest, at least divisional round in history. I mean, that's just unbelievable to have 4 games all come down to the last second, kicks on all 4, 3 of them to win the game, 1 to go to overtime. And, I mean, literally, some of the stuff that I watched, I could not believe I was watching with my own eyes.
I know it, man. Let's start with the Saturday games, okay? So we saw the Bengals and the Titans, and Bengals get the win 19-16. And let's just stop there and talk about this game. First of all, I don't even know. There's so many storylines with this game. 19-16, and yeah, we got that one right because, something, Dustin, it just didn't feel right. The Titans, being at home, having that number 1 seed, and then they did exactly what teams shouldn't do, just change up. I know they was just really egging to get Derrick Henry back in, but I think it really cost them the game, and it threw them out of their chemistry.
Yeah, it definitely threw them off, and obviously, if you have a chance to get your best player back, you're going to take it. But not playing that long, being out that long, and then trying to come back in. There were some times where I think Foreman was probably running the ball better, and they maybe should have stuck with him, especially on some short yardage plays. But like you said, it just kind of messed up their rhythm. And listen, Gene, I mean, we got that right, but if you would have told me in the game that the Titans had 9 sacks, I don't think we would have thought the Bengals would have won. So you have 9 sacks in a game, you're supposed to win. So that is you're a number 1 seed at home, you have 9 sacks in a game, and you lose. That is, to say the least, a disappointing loss.
Yeah, because I tell you what, and I kept saying, and I was in Arkansas watching the game with my family, and I had told my brother-in-law, I said, okay, if he gets this 10th sack, there's no way. I mean, and he stayed away from that double-digit sack, but man, you just got to feel bad as a Tennessee defense, knowing that you done sacked this guy 9 times, and it looked like he was going to be sacked, 10, 11, 12 times. And somehow they still played well enough to get the win.
Yeah, that's what, it's a team game. And of course it's 3 phases as we've seen in some of these other games over the weekends. But that's one of those ones where, Gene, they're not trying to point fingers at people, but as a defensive player, you're probably sitting in the locker room after that game in your mind. You're not saying it out loud, but in your mind, you're going, we did enough to win the game. We just didn't, get the help that we needed. And that's going to, they're going to look back on that for a while. You don't get many chances to be the number 1 seed and have a bye and only need 2 wins to get to the Super Bowl. So that was going to hunt them for a little bit.
It is going to hunt them, and now we focus in on the negative of that game, those 9 sacks. But you really want to know what won the game for Cincinnati? How about Joe Burrow? 28 of 37, 348 yards, and no touchdowns. Now that's a crazy stat. No touchdowns, but those passing yards went to T. Higgins and his homeboy, Jamar Chase. Are you there, Dustin?
Hey, Gene, I'm so sorry. It was breaking up on me a little bit there. Yeah, listen, what I want to say about Joe Burrow, the biggest thing I take away from that game, Gene, is you just said it. You get sacked that many times. We've seen it with the greats. We've seen it with Tom Brady. We've seen it with Aaron Rodgers. They're going to be on the sidelines. They're going to be getting up in their teammates' faces. They're going to be really upset about how this game is going. Every time Joe Burrow got hit and got back up, there was even some late hits. Every time he got hit, he got back up with that same stone-cold look on his face, didn't blame anybody, wasn't yelling at anybody, and just went right back and did his business. And that's the biggest takeaway for me. And that's a guy coming off of an ACL injury. So in year 2 like that, to have that poise in a big playoff game on the road against the number 1 seed, that's the biggest takeaway I have. And that's the biggest reason that, obviously the Chiefs are going to be the favorite, but the Bengals are a legitimate team that goes to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I had mentioned about the 348 yards and no touchdowns, but man, he was hitting his targets. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Ujoma was just having a field day out there against that Titans defense.
Yeah, they were, and I mean, I think if you look across the league, they have, we talk about skill position, we talk about Cooper Kupp, Odell Beckham, we talk about Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. But when you have T. Higgins, you have Mixon, you have Chase, you have Boyd, you have that 3 receivers, and then you throw in Burrow and the way he plays. I mean, they're dangerous to anybody. And at the start of the season, we probably wouldn't say they'd be in the Final Four, but we can legit see why they are a Final Four team, and it's really not a surprise with the weapons and the quarterback that they have.
Yeah, and looking over at the Titans side of the field, man, and I had mentioned this also during the game, that if the Tennessee Titans were going to lose, something did not look right with Tannehill.
It did not. Not for a guy. I mean, obviously we know Tannehill's not one of these star guys, but he's a veteran guy who's played in big playoff games, who knows kind of how to limit his mistakes and make some plays. And when you come out and you throw an interception on the first play of the game, I don't know if that rattles you for the rest of the game. But he just didn't seem the same, and he just was missing throws he should have made. He's got weapons as well, and that's a disappointing loss because again, he's not a star you expect to carry a team to a win, but he's a veteran who should be able to make enough plays to lead your team to a win.
Absolutely. I mean, it was just a crazy start, and the game pretty much ended the same way that it started for Tannehill, with throwing a pick. He had 3 on the day. He was 15 to 24, 220 yards with 1 touchdown. And looking at Derrick Henry numbers now, he rushed for 20, had 20 carries for 62 yards, that 1 touchdown, which was, right there, down there in the red zone. But he only averaged 3.1. That was his average on the day. And it just, I mean, the Bengals really seemed like they were prepared for him, Dustin.
Yeah, they were prepared for him, and you just don't know if he's all the way back 100%. I mean, he's trying to come back. He's trying to play and lead his team to an AFC championship game, and so he's going to give it his all, so you got to give him props there. But like you said, He just looked at a rhythm. The Bengals looked prepared for him. And, again, there's a couple of those plays, whether it was 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1, where they're going for it, where they might have been better off handing it to Foreman than they were, to Derrick Henry. And that's not a fight on Henry. That's just the fact with his injury and him being out so long that Foreman just had a better rhythm running the ball. Yeah,
especially when he broke for that one long one for 45 yards there, talking about Foreman there. And that's when I said, wow, why don't you just keep this guy in? And like I said, Dustin, we see it all the time. And, teams just do that one thing. Just stick with what got you there. Now, I know Derrick Henry means a lot to that organization, but, man, he hadn't been around of late. And it was Foreman and Hilliard that basically got them in that position to be the number 1 seed.
Absolutely. And it's one of those things where coaches just overthink it. You're going to want to try to ride your best player, and that's understandable. But at the same time, you also got to have a feel of the game, and you got to ride with who's hot right now. And those guys are running the ball better. And even though, it doesn't seem like you want to go away from Henry, you got to go with who's got the hot hand in the game. You got to have a feel of what's going on out there.
Well, speaking of hot hand, I can tell you one guy that was hot, and, he had just recently come off the injured list, and that's A.J. Brown. This guy had 5 receptions, 142 yards, and a touchdown, and looked like Julio Jones was going to get going, but he started out strong, but he didn't make a difference. And I guess when you're throwing 3 interceptions, some of those balls were intended for Julio Jones.
Yeah, definitely. Probably just trying to get him involved. And let's be honest. When they picked up Julio Jones in the offseason, we thought that was going to be a dynamic duo. And Julio's had some injuries. A.J. Brown's had some injuries. Those two just never really became that force that we thought. But A.J. Brown, he was a monster on that game on Sunday. That one-handed touchdown catch, he did everything he could to keep his team in the game. Yeah. And, again, that's why you have to kind of look back on Tannehill when he throws 3 interceptions. You've got enough weapons with A.J. Brown and Julio Jones that you should make enough plays at home to win a game, and especially with your defense getting 9 sacks, they just couldn't get it done.
Yeah, they couldn't get it done. So, man, it just sucks, one and done, especially for a number 1 seed. And like you said, Dustin, we made that pick right. We saw it coming, and it happened. And the Cincinnati Bengals advanced to the AFC Championship game. Exciting times for Bengals fans. So, we got to talk about that game that took place later that evening, which was that game reminded me of Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier or Sonny Liston maybe, and I'm gonna shock the world, and that's what the San Francisco 49ers went into Green Bay and beat the Packers 13-10. Now, Dustin, we got this game wrong. And
yeah, we got this game wrong, and I think you even had the Packers winning by a decent amount. So this is just one of those ones where you shake your head. But again, we kind of mentioned it. Even though we picked the Packers, we mentioned the struggles that Aaron Rodgers has had against the 49ers, and once again, it showed on Saturday night. And listen, that was after they marched down the field on the first drive of the game and made it look easy, and then they don't score a touchdown for the rest of the game.
No.
So I was pretty shocked by that result.
Yeah, I mean, come on. We're talking about the 49ers who, and here's another team at home, having that bye just did not sit well for the Titans and the Packers. And I don't know, it wasn't like the 49ers just played this remarkable game. I mean, the stats are just ugly, but they went into hostile territory. And what made it hostile was not the Packers. It was the freaking weather. I mean, it was just unbelievably cold at Lambeau Field.
Yeah, it was. I don't think you get many chances like that when you have it at home. Everybody knows, when you come up to Lambeau in the playoffs, the weather's going to be like that. That's what the Packers want. You couldn't ask for a better setup, better conditions for the Packers to win that game. And even Jimmy G, he was trying to throw the ball to the other team multiple times. So the quarterback didn't do anything to really, lift his team up. I mean, we got to say, we'll probably talk about him, but Deebo Samuel, just the do-it-all guy who carried that team, and then obviously the defense and the special teams. But, we're going to look at special teams. We're going to look at defense because obviously those played a factor with the block punt, a missed field goal. Even on that game-winning field goal for the 49ers, the Packers only had 10 guys on the field. So that's a train wreck. But at the same time, with Aaron Rodgers, you should have enough to still win that game regardless of those mistakes. You shouldn't score one touchdown on the opening drive and then never score a touchdown again. So it's a complete disappointment. It goes back to, what we talk about with Aaron Rodgers here lately, Gene. He's probably going to be the MVP for the second straight year. But once again, second straight year, he's got the number one seed and they're right there at home for him, and they don't get it done. And yes, it's a team game, but when you're a guy like Aaron Rodgers, you're expected to be the guy to lead your team to those wins.
You remember the one little stat line I threw out there right before we ended the show last week was that, Aaron Rodgers is 0-3 against the 49ers in the playoffs.
Yes, absolutely. And what's funny is all I've seen on TV all week is how Aaron Rodgers says he owns the Chicago Bears. Well, now in the playoffs, it looks like the 49ers own Aaron Rodgers. So it's just unbelievable to see it.
And I don't know what happened. I don't know what he did to the city of San Francisco. What has he done? But to have that curse on and we're talking playoffs. We're not talking regular season now. Yeah, I'm sure he's beating the 49ers in the regular season, but we're talking about games where it counts. But, man, 49ers, give it up to the defense, held the Packers scoreless for all of the second and the third quarters, and then gave up the field goal there in the end. But and then the slow start there with the 49ers not scoring any points in the first half and coming back and putting up those 13 that they needed. And you talked about Deebo Samuels, man. This guy, oh my goodness, is he not the bread and butter? He shows up in every stat line for the 49ers.
He's unbelievable, Gene. And it's a South Carolina guy, so I saw him play in college close here to North Carolina, and he's just carried it over to the league. And listen, you can't even really just call him a receiver now. I mean, that's what he is, but he's an all-around athlete that can do it all for his team. And I know they have Kittle and they have different weapons, but when you can line him up anywhere and just give him the ball and he can make a play happen, it's pretty unbelievable. And the big play was that 3rd and 7 where they needed a first down, and all they did was turn around and hand it to Deebo Samuel, and he picked up that first down to help him win the game. So you can't say enough about him, and he's going to be a big factor going forward. And that's the guy, with Jimmy G, let's be honest, he's just kind of managing the ship. Deebo Samuel is going to have to be a guy they have to lean on. So hopefully he was a little banged up in that game. Hopefully he'll be ready to go when it comes on Sunday.
Well, the 49ers advance. They make it to the NFC Championship game, which they were just there a couple of years ago. So no surprise for 49ers fans. If you ask them, they expected this all along. So let's look at the games that took place on Sunday, and we're talking about the most anticipated playoff game of the weekend, and that was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Rams. And this was a game that we both picked the Rams. You've been on the Rams bandwagon all season long. So what'd you think about that game, Dustin?
I was going to text you in that fourth quarter, Gene, because obviously it was getting crunch time and our pick was getting nervous. But, they did everything they could to let Tom Brady and the Bucs back in that.
Oh, my goodness.
What a game, what a start. The first half, I wasn't expecting it to be as wide of a margin as it was, but that's what I expected from the Rams, to be able to play defense, get some pressure on Brady, make plays to their weapons, Odell Beckham and Cooper Kupp. And they just did that in the first half. And then the second half, obviously, they slowed down. They turned the ball over, which led the Bucs back in it. A crazy snap to midfield left them back in it. And
goodness.
then, once the Bucs finally came down and tied it, honestly, that's when you're thinking, I think everybody in the world's thinking, Tom Brady's got this thing tied. They're going to win this game somehow. So to get it tied and then to see what happens, for some reason, I have no idea, Gene. I'll let you break down that play of how you let Cooper Kupp get behind the defense. But they were able to make a play, get up and spike the ball. And that just, it was big for the Rams, obviously, to win the game. But that's big for Matthew Stafford to lead his team, even through adversity. You're up big and then you give it up and you're still able to go make a play to win it. That's why they got this guy. And they were able to pull it out in the end.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give all the credit to the head coach there for the Rams. This guy knows what he's doing. Sean McVay is a genius. I mean, this guy, he keeps that playbook right there close to him. He covers his mouth so won't nobody. But if you ever just look at that thing, man, he's got plays all over that thing. This guy is managing the game every second. You would never catch Sean McVay taking time off on the sidelines. He is coaching this game, and he got his quarterback in Matthew Stafford. Yeah, they had some hiccups in that game, but man, they didn't take their foot off the gas at all. And then when you look at the defense, the defense basically, I mean, they came in and saved the day. But yeah, Dustin, I was like you, man. When you give up 14 points in the fourth quarter, and it looked like that game was getting out of hand. And but right at the end, they got the field goal and won. But man, it should have never been that close. And I can guarantee you that this Sean McVay team will be ready. We'll talk about that in this next segment. But man, you won't see that type of disappointing play again out of the Rams. I can guarantee you.
No, and that's the good thing is that they still find a way to win that game, and they can use it as a learning experience even in a win. And, even on that, you talked about that drive where they got the field goal. I mean, Matt Stafford was sacked on first down, and I thought once that happened, we were pretty set for overtime. But they were able to make a play, and you're right about Sean McVay. The guy's a genius. He just turned 36 this week, Gene.
Wow.
I think I have a pretty successful life, Gene. I've got a good family. I've got a great job. I love doing sports media stuff. But I'm sitting here the same age as Sean McVay. I'm about to turn 37 tomorrow. He just turned 36 this week. And to think about that guy being my age, already being to a Super Bowl, has a chance to go to a second Super Bowl. And he's been a head coach for 6 years now, Gene. 6 years. He was hired at 30 years old. So to think about that, is just pretty unbelievable, and you can see why they hired him so young and why they believed in him, because you're right. He's an offensive genius, and if you give him those kind of weapons with his offensive genius, it's a dangerous combination, and that's why they're right on the verge of another Super Bowl.
Yes, they are. I mean, they indeed are. And, hey, congratulations, Rams fans. You are going to be hosting the NFC Championship game in your stadium, and we'll talk about that. I got an interesting stat for that too in the next segment. But Dustin, man, you were all on that one. And let's talk about the nightcap on Sunday. Oh my goodness! Just when you thought things were, look, if you have a bad heart watching these games, please seek medical attention, because Sunday night game between the Bills and the Chiefs. Oh my goodness! I've never seen the game where. And I know we got just about 3 minutes here, Dustin, but we're going to have to get this in here. I've never seen a game where the Bills did everything right but came up on the wrong end, short end of an overtime loss to the Chiefs.
Yeah, it was let's just be honest, it was one of the best playoff games that I've ever seen, one of the best quarterback duels I've ever seen in the game. And both guys just going back and forth and making plays for the team. And let's be honest, I'm going to say it, Gene. I don't know if you agree or not. Obviously, Mahomes was amazing, and I'm not taking away from what he did. But Josh Allen, in my eyes, was the best player on the entire field on Sunday night. What he did for his team, making throws, I know Mahomes did as well.
Yeah,
I know. But they also used Allen's legs. They just lined him up over and over and ran quarterback power, and he picked up yards. And then the way he answered time after time, I know Mahomes did as well, but Allen led his team and just was almost perfect. And so was Mahomes, and it was an unbelievable game. But if you score with 13 seconds left, Gene, you should win the game. And obviously, I don't want to, it's a great game. I don't want to throw people under the bus. But as a coaching staff, the defense that they decided to play on that 13 seconds was horrific. And to not squib the kickoff was horrific, to waste some more time. So there's a lot of questions that go into that. There's one thing to play prevent defense, but to just let Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce get 10-yard head starts and get a running start is just unbelievable. And, we talk about haunting with the Titans. This is like, magnify that by 20, that this is going to haunt them for a long time.
It is, and I agree with everything you said, man. It was a heartbreaker. It was a loss that, like you said, is going to haunt them for a long time. And, I knew it was going to be trouble. The 13 seconds and then the 3 timeouts, and all it took was 2 plays and get close enough for a field goal to tie it and get in overtime. And, oh, my goodness. So the Chiefs pulled out the miracle, and the Grim Reaper came out and did what the Grim Reaper was supposed to do and win a game. All right, folks, we're at the bottom of the hour. When we come back, Dustin and I will make our NFL Championship Weekend predictions. You're listening to the Mean Gene Show with Dustin Phifer, yours truly, here on KDWN, 720 AM, 101.5 FM, Las Vegas. We are back, everyone. Once again, you're listening to the Mean Gene Show here on KDWN 720 AM 101.5 FM here in Las Vegas. Dustin Phifer from Ballys Sports Southeast is my co-host, and we are getting you ready for championship weekend on Sunday. And before we get started, the show is brought to you by Presidential Limousine by Captain. Make sure you give them a call. Make that reservation, 702-438-5466. We're also brought to you by the Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino. Only a couple of more games. I know Championship Weekend is going to be big at the sports book. You better get there early. Those lines get kind of long over there, Dustin. So if you're going to make bets for the Championship Weekend, you got to get there early and make those bets, because these games, man, hopefully they will be as exciting as the divisional playoffs were. But get over there and to the Westgate sports book over there at the Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino. All right, Dustin. Woo-wee. Now, before we make our picks here, I got to put some information out there for our listeners, okay? Because you know we're all about informing people here on the MeanGene Show. So, Kansas City Chiefs are the first team in league history to host 4 consecutive championship games. Now, if the Chiefs win on Sunday, they would become the 4th team all-time to advance to 3 or more consecutive Super Bowls. All right, so Cincinnati fans, how about this? Joe Burrow is expected to become the first quarterback ever drafted, first overall to start a conference championship game within his first 2 seasons. Now, if the Bengals were to win, Joe Burrow, who was selected with the first overall pick out of LSU in 2020, would become the 3rd quarterback selected in the first round of the draft to start a Super Bowl within his first 2 seasons. Dustin, you know who the other 2 were?
In the first 2 seasons, number 1 overall pick?
Uh-huh.
Wow, man! I'm gonna say Ben Roethlisberger.
Bingo, that's 1.
And I'm gonna say, man, the second one's tough. I'm not sure on that one. I'll let you give me the second one.
The second one was Dan Marino.
Dan Marino. That makes a lot of sense.
Man, could you imagine being in company like that? And you're going to hear that stat. Trust me, if the Bengals win on Sunday, everyone in America will hear that stat. You're going to hear that, okay?
I think you just wanted to give a shout-out to Big Ben as he rides off on the sunset.
Oh, hey, well, yes. Come on, man. I'm always going to give a shout-out to Big Ben. And, 2 things I want to say about that real quick since you brought that up. One, he retired on the 20, well, what was it? The day, it was I think the 27th, and it was the day after the 2-year anniversary of the passing of Kobe Bryant. So I think that might have been some strategic time in there that he made the announcement, not on the 26th, but the 27th. But Big Ben is officially out of there. Did you see the Twitter video he put together?
I did, and definitely, he had an unbelievable career, Hall of Fame career, and obviously we need the last couple of years have been a little rough, but he's definitely going to go down as one of those all-time quarterbacks to lead his team to multiple Super Bowls and do what he did. It's hard to believe right now because of the last couple of years, but you have to remember back in the heyday, and I've watched that throw of the Cardinals Super Bowl over and over, and every time I see that throw, it's unbelievable.
San Antonio Holmes, I know. It was crazy, and it's just rare that you get players that stay with an organization their entire career, and
right.
And Kobe Bryant was another one there that we mentioned his name there, but you would think that we thought that Tom Brady was going to be, and whoever thought Tom Brady would leave the Patriots, and but sometimes it happens, But Big Ben is just one of the originals, that stayed with that organization. So big congratulations to him on a successful career. But I got an interesting stat too for your Rams, and you're talking about bringing it home. When the Los Angeles Rams host the NFC Championship game at SoFi Stadium on Sunday, it will mark the first time in league history that a championship game will be played in the same stadium that will host this year's Super Bowl. Okay,
that's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's crazy. And if they win on Sunday, the Rams will become the 2nd team to ever play in the Super Bowl in his home stadium, joining who, Dustin? who won
the Tampa Bay Buccaneers from last year,
who won Super Bowl 55 at Raymond James Stadium last year, which was crazy. I was in Tampa, Florida last year. I didn't go to the Super Bowl, but I attended quite a few events down there in Tampa. So, man, just imagine the Rams. And we'll talk about our picks here later, but, man, I couldn't imagine them screwing this up.
It's hard to believe because that's one of the things we used to say every year was that a team never hosts the Super Bowl, and it never happened, and then it happened last year, and now we're staring at it 2 years in a row. It's pretty crazy.
It could be back to back, and it's crazy. So now get this though, either the Rams or the 49ers, regardless, will become the sixth team ever to play in a Super Bowl that was hosted in his home state, because it's a California NFC Championship game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I've got some numbers when we get to that Rams game as far as fans go that I heard that it's pretty alarming when it comes to those 49ers fans traveling on Sunday.
Oh yeah, and that's just one of those stadiums, Levi Stadiums. I never got a chance to go to because I hosted a Super Bowl party in Vegas when was that the Broncos and the Panthers, right?
Yes, it was. Unfortunately,
I know. Remember, hey, Dustin, I go back and listen to that show that we did. Because I remember you called in, we were there, we did the show in Las Vegas, and remember our friend the late Rod Johnson there. We went round table there, and everybody made their picks. But oh my goodness, Dustin, that was one crazy Super Bowl. Now I didn't mean to bring that up there like that, but I was just because it was played at Levi Stadium, and that's just one of the few stadiums I haven't had a chance to. Well, I haven't been to SoFi either. So those two California stadiums I've never been to.
Yeah, that's one I haven't lived down yet, Gene. I mean, you talk about you don't have a team that goes 15-1 and really doesn't win the Super Bowl. Not only that, it was Super Bowl 50, so it was one of those monumental Super Bowls. So to have the MVP of the league, Cam Newton, your team to be 15-1, playing in that Super Bowl 50, it all lined up perfectly to be an historic season. And it still was, but that one hurts to this day. Team.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, man, we're gonna break this down just a little bit more because, and I'm gonna start with the Bengals because that's the first game that's gonna start at 3 p.m. Arrowhead Stadium there. I even let you know who the referee is gonna be. Okay, it's Bill Vinovich. Now, that's the guy that he controls the games pretty good. Now, I say that because, man, sometimes it didn't happen as much this past weekend as it happened in the wild card weekend. It seemed like the referees got their stuff together last weekend, Dustin.
Yeah, definitely was better called games, and the refs should only continue to get better as these championship games come along. But that's all you want. You want the players to make plays and decide the game with something this big on the line.
Yeah, and this is going to be the first postseason meeting between the Bengals and the Chiefs. And Zach Taylor, Andy Reid, I mean, what can I say? Zach Taylor won his first 2 career postseason games as a head coach. Andy Reid, good Lord, led the Chiefs to Super Bowl. What was that, 54 championship in 2019, has 19 career playoff wins, and which is tied for the third most ever by a head coach. Now, the Chiefs, of course, had 6 players selected to the Pro Bowl. They're not really trying to make that Pro Bowl. You know that, right, Dustin? They got Brown, Tyreek Hill, Chris Jones, Travis Kelce, Mahomes, and Tyrann Matthew. So I don't think they're going to be thinking Pro Bowl come Sunday.
No, definitely. They're as much as everybody likes Vegas and wants to be in Vegas, they definitely got bigger goals in mind for that.
And then over on the Bengals side, the Bengals, let's see here. Did they get anybody in the Pro Bowl? I don't think they did.
If they did, it was only 1 or 2 guys.
Well, let's see here. I think Well, yeah, they did. I'm sorry. They Chase and Trey Hendrickson and Joe Mixon. Yeah. So they did. They did get three in there. All right. Well, let's break this game down here. Let's break it down. Here is the AFC Championship game. I just gave you some numbers out there. Gave you, Andy Reid, and we have seen the Bengals surprise. Dustin, we always look at these teams that are on the road. Kansas City didn't have to. Well, thanks to Tennessee, they didn't have to leave home. So they get to host this thing right there in their backyard. The weather shouldn't be much of a factor. They both play in winter, winter stadiums, so to speak. Man, woo-wee. It's been a long time since the Bengals have made a Super Bowl. As a matter of fact, who was the quarterback, Dustin, the last time they made? I'm just throwing a bunch of trivia out there at you.
Man, that's gotta go way back. I guess I'll have to guess Boomer Esiason.
There you go. Come on now, you knew that one, man. Boomer Esiason. The last time the Bengals made the Super Bowl, it was I think it was Super Bowl 23. Boomer Esiason went up against a guy by the name of, you may have heard of him, Joe Montana, something like that. You remember that guy?
Yeah, he's pretty good. Yeah, he's pretty good.
So Boomer, man, he still got the old left-handed throw, man. Boomer was a bad boy back then, and you hear a lot about the Ickey Shuffle. Well, they were talking about Ickey Woods there, but man, I tell you, Bengals fans would travel too, Dustin. That's not that far of a drive or a plane ride from Cincinnati to Kansas City. But let's jump into this, man. Dustin, who's going to win the AFC Championship?
Man, it's going to be a great game. I think the Chiefs right now are favored by 7 points, so they definitely got that favoritism going, that home field advantage. Obviously, they're probably the favorite left out of these whole playoffs with the way Mahomes is playing right now. But I'll tell you what, the Bengals, like I said last week, nothing phases them, whether their quarterback's getting beat up, whether they get down. I mean, let's look at it just a few weeks ago. They beat the Chiefs in Cincinnati to win their division, and they were down in that game, and Burrow and Chase let them back. And if you remember, Chase had like 266 yards receiving. So they know they can beat this team. All signs point to the Chiefs, though, with the way they're rolling with Mahomes and Hill and Kelsey. It looks like Tyrann Mathieu is going to be back. He had a concussion last week. He's trending to play. That's big for that defense. But I'll tell you what, Gene, I said it at the start of the playoffs. I think you can go back and look at it, that Burrow and this team was poised for a run. And this is considered a run when you had the Bengals in the AFC Championship, like you said, in Burrow's second year. And I just think, again, there might be egg on my face going against a team that's in 4 AFC championships and looking for their third straight Super Bowl. But I'm taking Joe Burrow and the Bengals, and I think the crowd is not going to faze Burrow. I think he's built for these moments, and obviously Mahomes is as well. But I think this is, even though everybody knows that Burrow's already a star, I think this is his superstar moment where he takes it to show that he's already one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And I think he comes and he duels with Mahomes, and him and Chase make a play late to knock off the Chiefs and go to the Super Bowl.
You know what, Dustin? I tell you, man, it just seems like the popular Super Bowl. Every time we get to these championship games and stuff, like there was one year we thought it would be Green Bay, Kansas City. I said it was going to be the State Farm Bowl. It would be Rodgers and Mahomes, but and the sexy pick this year is the Chiefs and the Rams. But man, I don't know. I don't see it happening. It's just too easy to predict that the Rams and the Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. Now, and that could be. And I know if that happens, then NFL ratings are going to just jump through the roof. But Dustin Phifer, man, I tell you, I want to agree with you. Because we mentioned there's something special about Joe Burrow. There's just something special about this kid. And normally, I just wouldn't be, so excited about another quarterback in the AFC North other than my quarterback, right? but I recognize talent when I see it. And there's just something about this guy, man. And then when they went in and picked up Jamar Chase in the offseason, when they drafted him, I'm like, oh my goodness, and I gave you that stat earlier, when I mentioned Big Ben and Dan Marino, man, for a reason, because this guy has all of the tendencies that I've seen. I think they're going to get the win. I agree with you. I think the Cincinnati Bengals are going to. Hey, no disrespect to Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and hopefully they would have studied that game film to see how the Bills was able to control them. I think this defense still got something left in them, the Bengals, and I don't think if the Bengals win, I don't think it's going to be no high scoring game. I just think they get in there and get it done. And Dustin, I'm going to agree with you. The Cincinnati Bengals are going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we both could look foolish going against Pat Mahomes and going against this Chiefs team. Obviously, people were worried about the Chiefs offense and Mahomes in the regular season, and they've just, once the playoffs started, have taken it to another level. And this is what we expect from Mahomes and this team. And so, obviously, they deserve to be the favorite. And I think it will be a close game. I think it's going to go just like last weekend, where it's going to come down to maybe even who has the ball last. But I just think that Burrow, like you said, I can't say enough about how he's built for this. And I know I'm saying this, and people are nodding their head going, well, so is Mahomes, and he is.
Right.
But just to see, even Burrow said, I don't know if you saw it, Gene, he said that he's tired of being called an underdog because they've been an underdog in all of these games. He said they're a good team, and they're going to go out there and show why. So Burrow just goes around with his chip on his shoulder, and I just think he wants to make history, and I think they're going to find a way to pull off this upset and go to the Super Bowl.
Can you imagine Macaulay Culkin in the Super Bowl? Macaulay Culkin's career is about to resurface if that happens. If because he does look like him, I tell you, it's so funny. But yeah, so hey, me and Dustin Phifer, we both picked the Bengals. We're still on that bandwagon. All right, let's break down this NFC Championship, Conference Championship game between the San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Rams. And now the Bengals and the 49ers played in the Super Bowl before. That's the one we just talked about with Joe Montana and Super Bowl 23, Joe Montana and Boomer. I remember watching that one. And I think, Dustin, now you're talking about old. Good Lord, I think I was, wait a minute. Okay, I'm not going to go back and say how old I was. But anyway, just I was young when that Super Bowl took place, but I do remember. I'm trying to remember. That was in '88. Okay, well, yeah. I think I was about 24 or something like that. Anyway, but I remember that Super Bowl. So and we could see a 49ers. We could see a repeat of that Super Bowl. But on this game, now this is different. We just sat and told you how the Rams have busted their behinds to get in this position and hosting the NFC Championship at your home, knowing that you don't have to leave there because in 2 weeks you're going to be playing there in the Super Bowl. And I'm not going to take anything away from the 49ers. Man, they have had a magical run there, even though they have a hell of a streak going against the Rams. But
they do.
I know they really do. But I don't know. I guess I'm just going to go ahead and make my pick because I want to give you. I know you've been on this Rams, so I'm going to let you speak last because I know you got some interesting points there. But I would pick the Rams to beat the 49ers. I just think that's going to happen. I think they're going to get it done. I don't think they're going to squander away this opportunity to host the Super Bowl right there in their backyard.
Yeah, I mean, that's something big on their minds. And, you talk about the streak. The 49ers have beaten the Rams 6 times in a row. So this is one of those streaks where, you get to 6 games in a row, you've kind of owned the team for a little bit. So that's definitely going to be – and listen, that's going to be in the back of their minds. Just a couple of weeks ago, the Rams got out to a big lead at home with a chance to win the division, and the 49ers stormed back with their playoff lives on the line. Think about that, Gene. In that game, if the 49ers don't come back down 17-0 to the Rams to win that game, they're not even sitting in the playoffs and here with this chance.
Yeah.
So,
That's
that
true.
they've been playing playoff games ever since the last week of the season, and their defense is playing the right way. Their special teams, again, their quarterback Garoppolo, he's not doing anything fantastic, but they're doing enough to win these games. But you're right. I've been on the Rams all season. They've proven what I thought they could do, even though they but even though they turned the ball over and the Bucs got back in it last week. They won that game. And I said it after the first playoff win, Gene. Once Stafford got that off his back, it loosened them up to play freer. And yes, there's pressure still on them. Let's not get it twisted. When you have it, when you're at home with a chance to go to the Super Bowl and play at home in the Super Bowl, there's pressure on the whole team, especially when you went all in with Von Miller and Odell Beckham Jr. and things like that. So the pressure is still on. But I just think that they're built for this moment. I think this is what they waited for. This is why they got Stafford. This is why they added Von Miller. And people talk about Aaron Donald all the time, but Von Miller is finding his rhythm with his team.
Yes,
He's
he
made
is.
some big plays the last couple of weeks, and people forget what kind of superstar he is on the defense. So I'm going to take them. I'm going to take Cooper Kupp to make some plays. I think the Niners will try to take Cooper Kupp out of the game. And I think Odell Beckham Jr., who's had a great playoffs, is going to continue to have a big game. And if the Rams cannot fumble the ball like Cam Akers did twice and hold on to it, I think Stafford is ready to make these plays. And he's waited his whole career for a chance like this. And I'm going to take the Rams to get this win. I've had them since before the season started to go to the Super Bowl, and I'm going to stick with them to get a win here on Sunday.
Yeah, I knew you would, and you definitely have made interesting points about this team all year, and just last week, we said, or I had mentioned that, man, this team is just too damn good. I've never seen a team that just kept getting better. I mean, the Rams were good to start the season. Somehow they pick up Odell Beckham. Somehow they pick up they get Eric Weddle back. Somehow they get Von Miller, and I'm like, okay, really? So I mean, this team is determined. And then you have Sean McVay, who, I mean, this guy, man, and to see how he interacts with his players on the field and the behind the scenes things, you only hear great things about this guy. Now, he reminds me so much of a young John Gruden. But man, I think he's just better than Gruden. And he's so young, and man, this guy is going to be coaching for a long time, and the NFL should watch out because this guy is pretty good. He's a hell of a coach.
Yeah, he definitely is, and I mean, I think this is two of the better coaches in the game right here with Kyle Shanahan as well.
Oh yeah,
what he's done with that team, with the 49ers, with the injuries they've had. They draft a quarterback number 3 overall, and would they stick with Jimmy G throughout the season? It's going to be interesting what happens in this offseason with that. But so give him a lot of credit with how that defense is playing. But you're right. I think McVay's going to have it in the back of his mind about how the 49ers have kind of controlled them, have won these games. And I think he's going to put together one of those game plans where he just lets Stafford make some plays and runs the ball. And I think they have the playmakers. You talk about Debo and you talk about Kittle. There's playmakers on that side. But when you have Michelle, Akers, Higbee, Cooper Kupp, Odell Beckham Jr., Jefferson, and that's with Robert Woods out for the season. They just have too many weapons.
Yeah, they do.
And this is their moment. They had Jared Goff. They made it to the Super Bowl. They knew it wasn't enough, and if they want to get over the hump, they went and got Matt Stafford. And I think Matthew Stafford is built for this. I think he got a lot of grief in Detroit when it wasn't his fault. And I think he's ready to show that he still is one of the elite quarterbacks. And the crazy thing is, Gene, he's only 33. He's been around so long. It seems like he's up there. But Stafford's 33, so he's technically still kind of in his quarterback prime.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
We saw that with the late plays last week, and I think he's ready to make some more this weekend.
Whew, well, Dustin, hey, that's it, man. We did it. We made our picks, and now we get to sit back like everyone in America and watch what I hope is going to be another exciting NFL weekend. And Dustin, before we end the show here, I want to say happy birthday to you.
I appreciate that, Gene. I will be, like I said, I'll be relaxing this weekend, taking in some Lakers Hornets tonight. Big time matchup on ESPN with the Lakers and the Hornets. So we got some national TV love, and then I'll be sitting back like you, enjoying my birthday and hopefully watching 2 really good championship football games.
All right, folks. Hey, I hope you have enjoyed the show, and we'll be back next weekend to see who will be in Super Bowl 56. Plus, we will give you an update on the NFL coaching vacancies. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the games, and join us next week here on the MeanGene Show, KDWN 720 AM, 101.5 FM, Las Vegas.